Hello and welcome to the 2.7 patch notes for Crusader Kings 2. This is the Monks and Mystics patch, and we're going to start with the expansion features. So, expansion features are basically what's included in the DLC. Now there are two things that come with the patch. There's expansion features and then there's patch features. Patch features you get for free, expansion features you have to pay for. So, first one is societies. Join societies to gain different bonuses and access to a wide set of various powers, each unique to the different types of society. Power has to be earned, however. Complete quests given to you by the society in order to gain society currency, which can be used to increase in rank or spent on the powers available. All societies come with clothing unique to them, which brings more variety to the existing portraits. So, basically, societies are something that you can work towards different objectives with, and they all seem to have their own kind of purpose, which I think is really cool, and it may allow some more things to be done in peacetime to feel like you're still progressing, which all sounds very good in concept. Also, the additional clothing, while it doesn't sound like much, is actually kind of cool because it allows you to very quickly, at a glance, work out who somebody is. Like, say you see somebody wearing some, I don't know what the actual changes are, but say there are monk robes or something, and you got two people with the same face, one with monk robes, one without. It's very easy to quickly identify which one which one you're thinking of. So it's good. It's not amazing, but I just thought I'd point out that it isn't just, cosmetic. Yeah, it's just a different picture. It does actually add something to the game, which I like. So, what have we got here with society currency? So society currency, I assume, is going to be similar to kind of gold, prestige, piety, in that you spend it, you get something, and then you gain more, you spend it, you get something. Just basically, it's just another mana to spend on things. So, it sounds interesting, as long as it doesn't become useless like the others. Like, piety and prestige at a certain point just become completely useless. I'd like it if this was more of a actual resource which you had to, spend time gaining, but we'll have to see how it's balanced in-game. So, let's go through the different types of orders, and we'll just very briefly touch on each one. So, first one is the Mystic Society. So basically this is a load of different religions, all have their own kind of religious society, and members may enjoy increased learning or stewardship and increased piety gain. Very good. So basically, if you want piety, here's the way to go. Maybe the increased stewardship might be very good if you have a ruler who is sitting at like 8 stewardship, you want to just push it up to get over the 10 limit so you get a little bit extra domain size. That could be really good. Quests include the following. Do penance or meditation to show your devotion. So I would assume that penance is maybe a potential health loss for society currency. Well, meditation is probably like being in seclusion for society currency. Build a temple, fairly self-explanatory. Go on a pilgrimage, also fairly self-explanatory. It says and more, so there may be, I'm wondering how many quests there are for each one, and it would be cool if there's like a really large list, because that could add in a little bit of variety. Because if the list is too short, then it could just be at the point where you're like, oh, you could feel like you're just getting bad RNG in terms of what kind of quest it gives you. But it'd be nice if they're all kind of like this. None of them are too difficult from the ones it shows there, at least on the outside of it. I haven't looked into what penance meditation actually are. Powers include the ability to toggle celibacy and inviting a holy aesthetic to your court. Anyway, so toggle celibacy, that's interesting. So you'd be able to say that you were going to have guaranteed no children after a point. That could be really useful if you want it to be. And a holy person, I assume. That would be cool. Yeah, if you could get a holy person in, that's the way to get an extra person to fill your priest seer slot, that kind of thing. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. Devil worshipping societies. Join and worship the evil side of your religion with societies such as Lucifer's Own, the Fellowship of Hell, Plague Bringers, and others. Okay. Members may enjoy a bonus in increased intrigue. Now this is starting to get more interesting. Quests could include the following. Corrupt a priest. That should be priest, surely. I did just copy and paste this from the Paradox website, so we'll just fix that up. Corrupt a priest. Perform a sacrifice. Desecrate a temple. So, desecrate a temple, would that mean destroy one of your own buildings, maybe? I get what corrupt a priest is probably convince a priest to do something unpriest-like, like maybe seduce them or something. Perform a sacrifice, you know, murder someone. Desecrate a temple, I assume it must be like destroy one of your own buildings or maybe raid another temple of your religion and like burn it down. Maybe something like that. Maybe if you're sieging, you could get an event to do something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Powers include the ability to abduct people. That sounds awesome. But also sounds like if the AI can also do that, it might not be so awesome. Perform a dark divorce. So maybe if divorce isn't allowed by a religion, you could do something with devil worshipping. I assume dark divorce may mean kill your wife or something like that. Not sure. Summon a familiar. No idea what that is, but I assume it's like having a dog in game or something like that, where it would just give you some kind of bonuses and a few flavor events. Mostly for societies, I'm interested in the modding side of things on how far you could go with that, but it's still interesting. The Assassin Society. Serve the Grandmaster and plot against those who would interfere with your plans or raise high enough in the ranks and become Grandmaster yourself. Members of the Assassins may enjoy the benefits of increased intrigue, plot power, personal combat skill, and more. Very interesting. Murder. So, quests may include the following. Murder a designated target. Convert counties to the true faith. Collect the debt of another member who is yet to pay back. Powers include the ability to borrow money from the Order, raise an army, intimidate rulers for favors. Now that is really cool in that... at least if it follows on, because each of these says and more. But if the quests are very much a go and do something quite difficult, like murder a designated target could give you somebody who's in a well-protected court. It's going to take you a long time to do it, but if you can, and you can get some of that currency, then you get the ability to borrow money, so you get money, problem sorted. Raising armies, you got you know, the ability to become stronger, presumably quite quickly. Once you finish your quest. Intimidate rulers for favors. Again, if you're inside a realm, you would be able to very quickly rise up through the ranks if you were part of the Assassin Order. Because you got the plot power, you got your intrigue, your personal combat, so you can duel people, you can plot against them. You know, it's just all in... It seems like a really good one for trying to, like, rise up without actually declaring war on someone. Or, if you want to declare war on someone, you have the ability with the raise an army. It just seems like an all in all a good society. I'm not sure how strongly, like if the army is like 50 men, then maybe I'm over exaggerating how good this one is. But you know, it's all in the numbers. But that sounds in theory pretty good. The Hermetic Society focuses on learning and are always trying to discover hidden truth. May it be in looking at the stars, performing alchemy, or understanding the divine. Members of the society benefit from increased learning. Quests include gathering ingredients, building a laboratory, finding a rare scroll or tablet. Powers include scrying, horoscope, writing a magnum opus. No idea what to think about this one. This one sounds a bit like the faith focus in that it probably won't really be used that much, but you know, maybe that some of these things lead to really cool stuff. I have no idea where that one specifically leads, but that could be cool. Is that all of the societies? I think that might be all of the societies, at least that come with the game by default. Okay, so that's not a lot, but you know, maybe if there's a whole bunch of different types of each of these societies, that would there could end up being like a ton, and these are just the 4 types that they got in by default. Interestingly, just looking at them, there's nothing that... None of these give you, like, extra martial or, like, extra diplomacy. Which is, I suppose, good in that there's a lot of other ways to game them, but they're also the 2 traits that are, like, you know, the best. We'll see. Some of these say, like, you know, members may enjoy benefits of things and more. So maybe some of these other things are the more. But we'll see. Anyway, artifacts. Be visited by a great goldsmith who can craft magnificent crown jewels for any ruler who can afford it. Hire the assistance of a weaponsmith who can craft a wide set of weapons to boost your performance when leading armies. Learn of relics thought to be long lost and set out on a quest to acquire these important artifacts and put them in the safety of your treasury. Now, I believe, unless this is also in the free features, that these are, like, that you do have a treasury to hold items, which in the base game will be used to hold all these relics and things, but in mods, I can see that being really useful for things like the Game of Thrones mod, where, like, there's a lot of Valyrian swords going around, there's a lot of armor going around. If these can just be put in your treasury, it could be used as kind of like an inventory, and then you don't have to have all the stuff just sitting as traits on characters. You can kind of clear up a few of the character traits, and maybe you can have it so that they have... maybe some of the back end can be cleaned up a little bit with those, if there's an actual system for it, which I think would be cool. Additional council jobs. Now this one is interesting, because council jobs right now, there is a correct set, basically. Nearly always there's a correct set of like 5 to choose from. So let's see what these new ones are. Perform statecraft. Your chancellor will improve your relations with vassals, neighbouring rulers, and your liege, as well as increasing the speed at which threat decays. That is really good. Actually, increasing the speed that threat decays, that could be, you know, game-changing, depending on how quickly that changes your threat. That could make so many things more viable and more useful. Now, if that changed, default threat decay is something like 0.2%, I think, a month. If you could get that up to like 1%, that would be like a massive change. You could actually, in theory, get your threat down from 100 to 0 in like a character's lifetime reasonably, which seems really, really good. And it says, will improve relations with vassals, neighboring rulers, and your liege. So this is kind of just general. This will just be like, they generally improve your relations. I wonder whether this is going to be like, it just gives you a flat buff to everybody around you. Like, maybe it's just like a flat 5 opinion with everybody. That could be cool. Just as a kind of... I'm not entirely sure who I want to improve relations with, but I'm going to improve relations with a lot of people. And then when I want to specifically improve relations, I can use the improve relations option. Could be cool. Organize your army. Your marshal will seek to train your commanders and reduce the maintenance cost of your retinue/horde units. Again, this is really cool. If you're not planning on going into war, like at all, this would be much better than, I think it's called Raise Levy, or whatever it's called. Basically the one that gives you the reinforcements on your levy. This could be a good replacement for it when you're at peace, because it's just saying, okay, I'm at peace now. I don't necessarily need the extra levy size. I just want to have my commanders trained. I want to not have to pay for my retinue, which is just sitting there reinforcing from the last war. That would be really good. Administer realm. Your steward will strive to improve your domain by increasing culture conversion rates and prosperity gain. Again, really good. If you want to just have something passively going, and say you don't need the money. Let's say the money is you're a Viking, you're a Norse character, you're raiding everything. I think it's Germanic characters specifically. Like Norse is the culture, Germanic is the religion. Yeah, I think if you're a Germanic character and you're off raiding somewhere, you get a lot of money. This could be really useful as another option. You don't necessarily need the money, but maybe you want everywhere to be your culture, so you have a larger variety of people who like you, or you're not a foreigner to them, and then that would be quite good. Seems like a useful option. Next one, sabotage province. Send your spy master to sabotage a county by reducing prosperity, lower the defense to make it easier to siege, or increase revolt risk. I don't think this is going to be useful. That's just my prediction. I think it could be useful. I think it has the potential to be useful, but I don't think it will. I think that if you're in the situation where you're secure enough that you don't need your spy master for something else, you won't need your spy master for this. That's just my first thought on it, but it depends. Like, if the increased revolt risk is high enough, and like say the realm is already starting to fall apart from a few revolts, if you do this, you could maybe spiral a realm out of control, you could fracture it. Could be useful. Hunt apostates. Have your court chaplain search for heretical societies to reveal the members and have them punished, while also increasing your piety gain. Now this one entirely depends on how strong societies end up being. If societies are strong, this one is strong. If societies are not strong, this one is not strong. Fairly simple. Next one, AI orders. As a primary participant in a war, you are now able to give orders to your allies. AI allies will perform the orders they receive for as long as they don't have wars of their own that they deem more important. In the province view, you can order siege to have an ally siege the selected county. In the selected army window, you can use order attach army to have an ally attached to the selected army. Added allies in war tab to the military view. List all allies you have in ongoing wars and what orders they have, if any. Allows you to give the orders to focus on sieging or focus on hunting enemy armies. Very, very, very useful little bit here. So basically, this means that, instead of having your allies where they're just useless, they're just like cannon fodder, you can specifically say, okay ally, you have 1,000 troops, I have 1,000 troops, we want to go attack someone who has 1,500 troops. Previously, you might have been like, I'm not sure, like, although we're stronger as a whole, they might be able to more quickly get their armies together, they may actually, it all depends on whether your ally comes over to you. This one, you can specifically tell your ally, okay, come and join with me. We will together beat this person. Like, you can tell them, attach to my army, you walk together, you beat up his army easily. It seems so useful, and it's just a very good thing. Now, what I am surprised about and kind of disappointed with is that this is not a free feature. This seems like just a basic improvement to the game. This is a quality of life change that should be in the free features, not in the paid features. But for me, that doesn't matter. For you, it may. Child naming buttons. When a child is born, you have a new option of choosing an appropriate name. Random will randomly pick the name of a child from the culture list. Name after parent will name the child after father or mother. Name after grandparent will name the child after grandparents. Name after random ancestor will randomly pick a name from any member of your dynasty. That's useful. This is going to be really useful for me, because at least in the Game of Thrones mod, I really like to name it after family members. I like there to be some kind of continuity. Being able to just pick, like, grandparent or random ancestor. That's useful. It means that you're not just getting random names that don't really fit in the list. Anyway, it's cool, not game-changing. This I'm fine with having. See, compared to AI orders, I'm much happier to have this in the paid features. I mean, it's so meaningless you'd think they would put it in the free features, but this one does not impact like gameplay significantly. AI orders greatly impacts it. Child naming, not at all. I mean, child naming, you could just go and look at them. Like, you could just literally just look at your family tree and just pick randomly. So, anyway. Prisoner management. With the new prisoner management tool, it's even easier to get rid of all those useless characters filling up your dungeons. I was still thinking of the previous one, the child naming tools. Set various filters to handle only the prisoners you want to, enabling you to avoid potential penalties or executing someone who can pay ransom by mistake. Mass release. Release all prisoners. Mass ransom. Release all prisoners. Mass execute all prisoners. I think that's... this one is, again, really kind of useful. Also surprised that this one is not in the patch, because this seems like it's fairly straightforward and like just a quality of life change once again. So this one is, you can set a filter. So say in the Norse campaign that we're running right now, we have it so that we get prisoners a lot, but really there's only like two types of prisoners we care about. Those that can pay money, we care about. We want them to instantly have their ransom paid. Those who are above the age of 16, below the age of 30, and are female, those are useful because we'll take them as concubines and get the prestige for them. Those that are female below the age of 16, we want to keep but not release because we want to take them as concubines. Those that are above the age of 30, we may want to release just to get them out of our dungeon, or we may want to keep them for blots. And all males, we either want to release, ransom, or keep for blots. So we could set up a filter system so that would work quite well. So we could hit mass ransom if we want to, get all the money, and all that. Yeah, it's basically just useful as a general thing. Okay, and the last one is added, is that Dharmic? pilgrimage event chain for all Dharmic religions. So I believe this is things like the Buddhist religions up in the northeast of the map. This basically just adds in pilgrimage events for them. It seems fine. Also, surprising that this is in the, like, you know, the paid patch, when really this is just adding already existing like, this is adding probably an already existing event chain line to another religion with some extra flavor text. I don't know. Anyway, free features, religious cults. Okay. So there are still some societies that are, well, there is one society then that is in the free features. That's cool. Gone are the days where you're forced to abandon the old ways, as you're able to falsely confess to a new religion while keeping true to your faith in secret. When you convert, you can choose to secretly worship your old religion. With enough prestige, a ruler with a secret religion can create a cult to recruit more members. Powers include the ability to evoke sympathy for your secret religion and other rulers, induct rulers to your secret religion, openly adopt faith to openly convert your secret religion, forcing other members within your realm to do the same. Okay, could be cool. Especially if it was, say, a holy war was declared on you. You can say, oh, I will obviously convert. Keep your old religion, get up the sympathy for it, make sure that and then when you feel strong enough, you can kind of come out and say, nope, we didn't convert at all. I think that could be cool. Also interested to see how religious cults work for things like the Warhammer mod, where you can have people convert into chaos. You can say, I'm going to secretly convert to chaos, and then you can have that kind of thing work it in. And I'm interested to see how they work it into that mod, if they choose to go that route, or if they choose to do something different. Anyway, very interesting. Next one, treasury. Rulers now possess a treasury. Oh, well, there we go. That answers my previous question of whether that was just a patch feature, just a expansion feature, but it is free as well. A place in which to store collected artifacts and items. Several old items that used to be character modifiers have been replaced with actual artifacts and will instead be placed within the treasury. So things like the +2 axe presumably would be put in the treasury instead of being put as a character modifier. Map update. The Ural Mountains are now impassable. Okay. Remove the duplicate island of Kolguvev. I'm not entirely sure, in the Barnett Sea. No idea. The Barent Sea, that would be. The most northern part of Onega is properly filled with water. Mountains in southern Abyssinia no longer stretch onto the frame of the map. Fixed an issue with the lower part of the River Don, where the riverbeds would go above water level. Removed a bunch of trees that looked like they were placed in major rivers. The terrain around the lake Boltcash has been smoothed to avoid sharp/rough edges. Basically, a whole bunch of things have been cleaned up. Just quickly scanning to see whether anything major has been changed. County of Constantinople is now located on the western side of the Bosphorus, merging the eastern side into the county of Nicomedia, connected with a strait. I'm not entirely sure what impact that has. Just Constantinople caught my eye. A few different things are now de jure kingdoms of Crusader. Yeah, nothing major at all, really. Apart from actually the last one there, which is moved the Kingdom of Venice to de jure the Empire of Italy. What this means is when Italy is formed, Italy will likely try and take Venice into its realm, because it'll be trying to get its de jure parts in. So there's probably going to be more wars between Venice and Italy, or you're just going to see Venice as part of Italy nearly all the time, which seems fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, it's fairly close by anyway, so, you know, you'd expect to see them going into some sort of conflict. Improve the character finder. Oh yeah, this is the bit I'm very happy with. Added a reset browser filters button. Added a diplo range filter. Added a join court filter. Characters that will join your court if bribed now get a yellow hand instead of a red thumbs down. Added functionality for saving and loading a set of filters, allowed for up to 4 slots of different configurations. These persist across campaigns. The Great House character filter now includes an option, not mine, to avoid characters of your own dynasty to appear in the search. Honestly, one of the best changes of the patch for me. I really like having the ability to switch, like, the ability to have filters changes how quickly you can do things. Like, say you want to have a filter which is, I only want women who I can marry. So they have to be my religion, my culture, or my religion group, my culture group, not married, not in prison, and they also have to be not a ruler, say. You can quickly do that. You can have that as one filter. And then maybe you want another one, which is you're looking for a good commander outside the realm. You want probably joint court filter added in. And then you want them to be male and not in prison and not married and not a ruler. So you can have like different things and you just switch between them whenever you need it. And it basically just allows you the searching to go a little bit quicker and saves a lot of the tedious kind of having to go through the steps over and over again. Okay, next one. Improve the game rules screen. Now possible to filter the rules by a variety of groups. Now possible to save and load sets of rule options. Not useful for me. I don't tend to get into the rule options that often. But other people may have certain setups that they enjoy for certain situations. Good. Updated the intrigue interface. Now shows 7 decisions rather than 4. Okay. Decisions can now be marked as important / not important, allowing you to decide what decisions you want alerts for. So similar to EU4, I'd assume. Like basically you can, for EU4 they've got a whole bunch of, I forget what they call them. I think they are still called decisions, I could be wrong. But basically for things, and you can say like, I don't really care about that one, I'm never going to enact that thing. You just press a little button, and then if that thing's the only one that's like an important event, it just won't make a pop-up. If you still want it to have the pop-up, you just untick the box. Fairly simple, straightforward, but useful. Your plot and back plots have been moved to a tab on its own. We'll have to see how that looks. Back plots now show their target. Useful. And known plots have join plot and end plot button. So interesting. So that means that you can just join a plot that you know about, right? Is that new? Or could you always do that? I don't think you could always do that. So maybe that's a new thing. We'll see. Auto stop plots has been moved to the known plots tab. It now shows 6 prisoners / threats at a time instead of 5. The plot choice list now shows 6 plots at a time instead of 5. So basically they changed how the intrigue interface kind of looks, but it's still pretty much the same. Added an on-map combat indicator. The indicator will show if a battle will happen in a county as a result of the movements of adjacent units. Useful. I've seen a little bit of this in EU4 where it does the same thing, so yeah, useful. But also it will indicate whether you'll have any defensive bonuses, river crossing, strait crossing, so that could, you know, again, useful. It means that you're not going to make a horrible mistake just because you didn't notice. Added an embark all button when having multiple armies selected. It loads as many of the selected units as possible onto ships. Useful if you don't want to like make one massive unit and then have to put it all on a ship and then split it up later. You can just be like, okay, these are the size of armies I want, I just want them all on the ships. It doesn't matter, kind of thing. Added alert for councillors having no job assigned to them. Useful, I have had many an occasion where I've sat without councillors having jobs, and really they should have jobs all the time. Remastered the volume of all existing songs and sound effects for an improved soundscape. We'll see. I have noticed that some songs are like massively louder than others, and certain things like that, so maybe that's maybe they've fixed that. Maybe they've also made it so that some of the, like, you know, I think the bits where you open up, like, I forget which tab it is, like the technology tab's a little bit loud, maybe, I think that's the one. But anyway, doesn't really matter. Conclave. When selecting councillors, you will now be able to see what voting archetype they're likely to pick. Very, very useful. By the way, I should say in Conclave, this is if you own the Conclave DLC, this will apply, obviously. But, yeah, there you go. When selecting councillors, you will now be able to see what voting archetype they're likely to pick. Useful because before you had to kind of just guess. Now you can be like, if you want a loyal council, you can pick a loyal council, probably. Like, you can probably get that kind of thing through. If you want a Glory Hound council, you can pick a Glory Hound council. You want zealous people, you can pick zealous people. It's just useful. You can now send law changes to consideration by the council. So I believe this is saying that you can say, I would like to put this law through, but I don't want to use my 10-year law, you know, thing where I'm only allowed to enact one law every 10 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to the council, and the council can say, We would vote yes for this, or we would vote no for this. I think that's right anyway. We'll see how it works in practice, but I believe that's the theory. The council view tells you how your councillors are voting or would vote on a law change. Useful, I guess. Anyway. Balance changes. Let's have a look here. Minor clan revolt troops are no longer inherited, and the leader of the uprising now has more money, prestige, population, and manpower, as well as 2 sons to succeed him. So, basically, minor clan revolts are not like, you know, something where if you're the person having the clan revolt, the person running it was to die, the troops would not be inherited to the next person, like who was running it. Is that right? But the person in charge of the uprising is stronger. So the uprisings are stronger but won't last more than a generation. But it does say as well as have 2 sons to succeed him. So they would be able to inherit the war but wouldn't get any of the men? Is that right? I'm not sure. Anyway, that's how it seems to me. Not really sure, haven't played a horde in a while. If you grant a title and all titles below it to a child while following a religion that uses bishops, the temple will now have bishops generated rather than not handed to... Oh, are we missing a little bit on the end there? Oh, yeah, we need to zoom out just a... Oh, wow. Some of these lines were much longer than others. Anyway, we'll just scroll along if we need to. Right, if you grant a title and all titles below it to a child while following a religion that uses bishops, the temples will now have bishops generated rather than getting handed to the recipient. So basically, what it'll do is it won't give the child the temple and then make them have to give it away. It'll just say, okay, it'll just hand it to the bishop. I think there was probably a way of allowing you to switch to theocracy that way or something like that. Anyway. Cultural bonds. No longer causes an alliance, but instead allows other independent characters of the conqueror's culture to join in defensive wars. The AI is likely to do this if their opinion of the defender is positive and are not busy with wars of their own. Yeah, that's good. It's nice that if somebody hates somebody else just because they have the same culture, it's not going to have a specific alliance. I think that's good. Maybe. Anyway. Allows vassals to press de jure claims against their fellow vassals again, although the AI won't. Oh, I did not know you couldn't press de jure claims against fellow vassals. Again, been a while since I've been in that exact situation. But that's useful. That just seems useful for the player to do it. You'll now lose some threat if the dying caused you to lose land. I thought you already did. But maybe that was just... yeah. I guess I thought that already did. But I guess... Good. They should do that. Makes sense. You did lose land. When the holder of a vice-royalty dies, they'll now be replaced in wars by their regular heir, not their liege. Okay. So basically it's saying, like say a vice-royalty was losing a war, I think that's to stop you murdering the person who's in charge of the vice-royalty and then taking over. It's basically saying, like, you'll have to actually have that person win it by themselves. Maybe. I think that's what that's to stop. Could be wrong. The asked to leave court diplomatic interaction will now cause character spouses to leave as well, and has the same requirements of the spouse as the characters being asked to leave. Okay. Increase the duration of the war taxes modifier to 5 years, up from 3. That's really good. That just makes build a war chest ambition much better. Overthrow ruler will now give the ruler a claim on the title if they accept the demands. So if you're overthrown, you actually have a claim. Seems good. No longer possible to usurp titles from the vassals of a revolting vassal. Okay, no longer to usurp titles from the vassals. Okay, so if, say you have France, and say the person in charge of the Duchy of Paris has a revolt, and say that, well, it would have to be actually an empire level. So say you have, what's it called? The bigger one there is Francia. Say you have Francia. France then revolts from Francia. Then you had 5 out of 6 of the stuff in Paris. You would not be able to revoke that. You wouldn't be able to revoke that duchy. Because they are at war, I think. that's what you're getting at here. Yeah, I think that's right, but I could have got that slightly wrong. Or actually, that could be if you were Francia, and if you were Francia, your vassal France revolts. You control 5 out of 6 of the Duchy of Paris, but you don't control the Duchy of Paris. You could revoke it from the revolting vassal, revolting vassal's vassal, thereby avoiding the tyranny that you could usurp it instead of having to revoke it, basically. I hope that made sense. But yeah, it's kind of an odd situation, but it's not really important at all. Probably won't affect the game too much. Capitals can now be moved every 50 years instead of once per lifetime. Yep, that seems really useful, actually. I mean, if your character's been alive 50 years, you may be in a much different situation. You may just want to move your capital at that point. Just seems useful. Merchant republics with too few patricians will no longer draft people who are heir to a title to become patricians, since this risks disinheriting them. Yeah, okay. So, if you have a merchant republic, and you have a bunch of courtiers in your court, and what it will do is it will just pick one and it will say, this one is going to be in charge of a new great house. But if that person was heir to something else, like say they were heir to a county nearby, which was feudal, they would be disinherited. I think that's right. I could be wrong. Or at least if they got to be patrician, that would disinherit them. I'm not sure. But I think that's the situation where they're trying to avoid there. No longer possible to ask to join a war against someone you have a non-aggression pact with. Makes sense. The Make My Court / Vassal Speak English events can now trigger if one's a vassal of Britannia rather than England, and can trigger for the king / emperor as well, not just their vassals. Okay, so I don't know what the Make My Court / Vassal Speak English events are. Okay, but I guess that's something. Yeah, makes sense that it would trigger if you're part of Britannia and instead of England, because that's basically what England turns into if you go the next level up, so makes sense. The prestige you get from being a consort now scales with the tier of your spouse. Reduce the prestige to half. Okay. It now ranges from 0.5 a month from a baron to 2.5 a month for an emperor. You okay? The capital duchy of a title, if held by the title holder, will under elective / tapestry laws always follow that title succession, even if the heir is not playable for you. Right. Counties, baronies, and other duchies will still revert to primogeniture in that case. So, what they're saying is if you hold the title duchy of a title, so say Paris, if you hold, I think it's the Duchy of Paris, or maybe something else, for France, it would go along with elective. So say they voted for someone else to be in charge, that person would get the duchy and the whole thing. Like they'd get both parts of it. While right now it would just switch to primogeniture and you could keep playing with the duchy, I think. But if you have two duchies and one isn't the capital duchy, then it would move. The second one would move to primogeniture, and you could keep playing as that person. I think that's right. Could be wrong. Now possible to give temple holdings to children if that does not risk disinheriting them. Okay. No longer possible to appoint someone to your council when a part of a faction that sent you an ultimatum. This could be exploited to have them leave the faction, giving you an easy win in the faction war or invalidating it entirely. Okay. I didn't know having someone in your council meant that they couldn't be in a faction. Is that what that's saying? Or is it just the opinion boost? Yeah. Not sure, but okay. Good that it can't be done anymore. When non-primary war participant dies, their primary heir will now stay in the war if the inherited title ends up as their primary title. It'll be possible for them to ask to join the war or called in by the war leader. So, when non-primary war participant dies, so say you had your ally in a war with you, he dies, their heir will now stay in the war as long as you could ask them to join it, or they could be called in. If it was impossible for those things to be true, then they would still leave the war. When eating your prisoners, you can now attract a non-serious disease. Alright, haven't really done a lot of that. No longer possible to join or start factions while you have a truce with your liege. I guess that kind of makes sense, actually. Landed characters can now pick a plot if they have none considerably more often, on average after 12 months. Okay. Fine. Yeah. AI improvements. We're not going to read the AI improvements. And interface, there are a whole bunch of interface changes. Just want to mention this one because I believe there are just like a ton of little changes to the interface, which hopefully will all look pretty cool, but not going to read through them. And user modding. Again, whole bunch of cool changes here. Not going to read through them, just seeing if anything major has changed anywhere else. There's more female names for the Cindy culture. Yes, that's good. Bug fixes. Again, not going to read all the bug fixes, but there they are. So, thank you for watching, and hopefully we will be starting a new campaign in Monks and Mystics, specifically aimed at new players tomorrow or today, depending on when this video goes up, when the patch comes out, when the DLC comes out, things like that. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.